Okay, so let's get into this. Today, we are doing a deep dive into a really, well, a profoundly kinetic personality profile.
Hmm.
We're talking about someone whose entire life, their whole internal energy, it just orbits this relentless pursuit of freedom, experience, and change.
Talking about the number five.
The number five. And it's not just, a slight preference for novelty. This is someone whose entire operating system is built on constant motion.
Right. And our mission today is really to cut through the surface level stuff.
Yeah?
We want to get to what it actually means to live a life built on that continuous movement.
And what happens when it stops?
And crucially, what happens when that motion stops. Because this profile, they're here to experience life fully. It's not about understanding it from a distance or just, patiently enduring it. They're the great explorers.
The sources are really clear on this. For the five, stillness just isn't a neutral state. It's felt as an active threat.
Yeah, aliveness is momentum for them.
Exactly. So we're going to be looking at that deep tension, that feeling of restlessness versus a genuine fear of stagnation.
Which brings us right into the engine room, so to
Yeah.
speak. You have to understand what that constant pull towards movement actually sounds like inside their head.
And this is where it gets so interesting because even when life is objectively good, stable, successful, that inner motor is still running.
It's churning.
It's churning. They don't hear a calm inner voice. They hear alarm bells. We see these phrases pop up over and over again. I need something new.
This is starting to feel tight.
Oh, yeah. Or the big one, that constant whisper, there has to be more than this. It's like a low-grade hum of dissatisfaction all the time.
And that inner dialogue, that's really a psychological safety system kicking in. The root of all this movement is a really intense primal fear.
Fear of what, exactly?
Stagnation for the five feels exactly like suffocation.
Yeah.
The core fear isn't just, being inconvenienced. It's being stuck, being controlled, or trapped in a life that has just stopped offering new possibilities.
Wow.
I mean, if you want to understand it myself, imagine waking up every single morning with the feeling that the air is slowly running out. That's the hypervigilance they have towards stability.
So if the fear is that intense, how does that translate into their emotional response day to day?
Their emotional world is it's extremely sharp, almost volatile.
Volatile?
Yeah, they feel excitement really fast, which is what fuels that seeking behavior. But on the flip side, they feel boredom just as sharply. It's like a knife edge of discomfort that demands they do something about it. Now,
And what about heavier emotions? Discomfort.
they feel that intensely too. But the key thing here, the defining trait, is recovery. They recover fast.
Wait, you said they recover fast, but not always deeply. Is that fast recovery a strength, or is it just a way to outrun the processing?
It's absolutely the latter. And that is such a critical insight. They just move on, often without integrating the depth of what they just felt.
So they don't learn the lesson.
Not fully. I mean, if processing a really intense emotion requires sitting still with it for 3 days, the five will have already booked a flight to a new city on day one.
Because staying still feels like the danger.
Exactly. That vulnerability might get them pinned down.
So if their emotions are that sharp and fast, I'm guessing their mind operates in a similar way.
Oh, profoundly so.
Mhm.
Their intelligence is adaptive, not linear. Their mind isn't just processing data, it's actively generating possibilities. Infinite possibilities.
It's not a straight line.
Not at all. It's jumping constantly, from idea to idea, option to option, curiosity to curiosity. Don't think of it like a neat database. Think of it more like a high-speed search engine. Always ready to suggest the next interesting link or pivot.
The constant question is, what else?
What else is possible, and why should I limit myself? Absolutely.
And that focus on possibility tells you exactly where they're going to run into friction in the world.
Yes. They instinctively reject anything that tries to limit that cognitive freedom. Well, rigid rules, for one. Long, tedious explanations that feel like they're just dragging them down. Slow, bureaucratic systems and predictable, unchanging routines are probably the worst of all.
So it's cognitive suffocation.
That's the perfect term for it. They feel cognitively suffocated before the work has even started. The structure's just too tight.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, let's pivot from that internal engine to how this all looks on the outside. How does this energy actually manifest? If you're living next door to a five, what do you see?
You usually notice that kinetic energy right away. Their outward persona is generally, well, it's highly energetic. They're incredibly curious, often adventurous, and usually very charismatic and talkative.
They're connectors.
Natural connectors, because they're always moving between different groups and different interests.
Right. And people comment on this. You always hear things like, you are always doing something, or you are so much fun to be around. They seem to know everyone and do everything. They'll go from a demanding job to a rock climbing trip to, I don't know, learning a new language, all in the span of a month.
And that's where we get to the irony, right? The contrast between that image and the internal reality.
What people don't see.
What most people just don't see is the immense internal pressure the five feels to keep that movement going. It's not always a joyful choice. It often becomes a defense mechanism. It's how they prove they aren't trapped, even when they're just exhausted.
Fun becomes mandatory.
Fun becomes mandatory. That's a great way to put it.
So if their mind needs that constant ability to pivot, how does that translate to their career? The sources lay out some pretty clear non-negotiables.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The work has to involve variety. It needs high interaction, some form of movement, even if it's just mental movement between projects. And constant learning and change are essential.
And if it doesn't have that?
If a job offers the same 6 tasks week in and week out, that internal restlessness just takes over. They will either sabotage themselves or they'll just leave.
Which makes them perfect for the modern economy, really. We see them thrive in roles like high-level sales, dynamic marketing.
Anything travel-related. Media, tech startups, negotiation.
Any communication-based role, really. They are masters of the launch, the initial phase, that dynamic interaction.
But they struggle, and struggle fiercely, in environments that are defined by repetition. Anything with an overstructured hierarchy or long periods of monotonous follow-through.
A job where next Tuesday looks exactly like the Tuesday 6 months from now.
That is paralyzing for them.
Yeah.
If the job itself becomes a cage, they're already looking for the escape hatch.
And their relationship with money. It seems to mirror this exactly. It's not about security. It's fuel.
It's fuel for optionality. Precisely. Money just represents freedom of choice, options, mobility. It's the ultimate enabler that lets them pivot whenever they need to.
It buys the plane ticket.
It buys the plane ticket or the fee for the next new course. Exactly.
But this relationship with money, when it's unbalanced, it has to carry some real hazards.
It does. Because they prioritize experience over structure, we often see them earning in these intense bursts, taking huge financial risks on impulse.
And spending it just as fast.
Spending it quickly just to maintain that momentum. They'll empty a bank account to keep your options open, or just to fund the next immediate adventure.
But on the other side of that, when they're mature, that same drive can be a huge asset.
Oh, absolutely. That drive for flexibility can turn into resourceful genius. When a 5 is grounded and focused, that ability to innovate and find clever solutions means they can always fuel their journey. They become innovators.
Okay, let's shift focus to relationships, because this is where that need for breathing room must get really complicated.
It does. They love through shared experiences, through adventure and play and high-level conversation. They want a partner in crime.
Not a caretaker.
Not a caretaker, not a ball and chain. And they have these crucial non-negotiable needs in a partnership.
Like space.
Space to breathe, for sure. Emotional lightness. The relationship can't feel like a constant psychological burden. And most of all, trust without control. The relationship has to feel like an expansion of their world, not a limitation.
And if those needs aren't met, if they feel those walls closing in, what are the triggers?
It's the classic stuff, really. Feeling trapped, sensing emotional heaviness or dependency from a partner, and especially possessiveness. Being asked to account for all their time.
And that pressure triggers
an immediate, almost instinctual flight mechanism.
And this flight can be really abrupt, can it? They might just pull away suddenly or change plans without any explanation. It must be so confusing for their partner.
It is. And we have to emphasize the tragic part of this is that the flight is a reflex. It's self-preservation against stagnation. It is not proof that they don't care.
They're just running from being pinned down.
They're terrified that commitment will close off all their future options. Their biggest failure in relationships is confusing healthy interdependence with lethal entrapment.
That brings us right to the shadow side of the 5. When they're unbalanced or wounded,
Hmm.
The tragic reversal is that their core value freedom twists into pure avoidance.
Yes. They spend all their energy running from things instead of moving toward anything meaningful.
And how does that avoidance actually look? What are the patterns?
Well, they become relentlessly impulsive. They start to actively avoid any kind of emotional discomfort, just escaping instead of processing.
Numbing.
Exactly. Using constant external stimulation travel, new hobbies, new projects, as a way to numb that internal tension and avoid any real self-reflection.
So their greatest fears in that shadow state become stillness itself. Emotional depth, anything that demands consistency.
Yes, and they end up perpetuating their own unhappiness by confusing all that frantic surface-level activity with genuine, meaningful aliveness. They never stop long enough to build anything deep.
But this is an archetype of exploration, and the sources say the path to integration, to maturity, is the most rewarding part of their journey.
It is, but it demands a huge shift in definition.
Which is,
The mature five finally understands that true freedom isn't constant motion. It's conscious choice.
so it's moving from running away from fear to intentionally moving toward purpose.
Exactly. And the change in their behavior is just. It's transformative. A healthy, mature five moves with intention. They choose their freedom consciously.
Which means they can commit.
They can commit without feeling trapped, because the commitment itself was an intentional choice. They stop scattering their energy across 50 different things and start consolidating all those experiences into real wisdom.
The movement becomes purposeful, not frantic.
Right. They start to leverage their natural energy instead of being driven by the fear behind it. And they gain incredible power through collaboration. The sources really emphasize this. A lone five scatters, but an integrated five becomes magnetic.
And they can integrate traits from other profiles, right, to find that balance.
Yes, think about this energy. If they integrate the best of a number six, they get grounding, responsibility. It gives structure to their freedom.
And with the 7.
They find the underlying meaning behind the experience. The movement starts to serve something bigger than just the thrill. They stop collecting moments and they start building a narrative.
So if we boil all this down, what are the key lessons a 5 has to learn to really master their life? The sources list 5 breakthroughs.
They do. It's a really clear roadmap. First, stillness is not imprisonment. You have to learn to just sit in that feeling without triggering the flight response.
Rest is integration, not stagnation.
Perfect. Second, commitment doesn't erase freedom. It focuses it. Commitment is the framework that gives their powerful energy direction.
Okay, what's third?
Third is that discomfort is part of depth. You just can't get to real wisdom or deep connection without navigating some emotional heaviness or accountability.
Yeah.
Growth is hard sometimes.
Right, you have to go through it, not around it.
And the final two are really practical. Fourth, experience needs integration. That fast recovery we talked about is often just superficial. The experience has to be processed to become wisdom.
Otherwise, it's just a memory, a souvenir.
It's just a souvenir. And fifth, and this is maybe the biggest one, movement must serve meaning. The chase for new has to connect to a deeper conscious purpose. Otherwise, you're just running on a treadmill.
Exactly. The whole struggle for the 5 is about redefining freedom, moving it from an external constant chase to an internal conscious decision.
And when they do that, they become those unstoppable explorers the world needs, guided by wisdom, not by fear.
So for the number 5, stillness isn't a prison at all.
Not at all. It is the essential tool they need to integrate all their vast energetic experience. It's the moment they stop just collecting things and start actually building wisdom.
And that leads us to a final provocative thought for you, the listener, especially if you recognize some of this drive in yourself or maybe in someone you know. If the 5 profile fears being pinned down, what's one concrete action you could take this week to intentionally ground the knowledge you gained from a past impactful experience? How do you start treating your experiences like souvenirs and start turning all that motion into actual wisdom?